Another significant metric is this disparities in advancement. A study showed that while people of color are certainly increasing representation at entry-level positions in organizations, there's still a glass ceiling effect that's happening. When you compare entry-level representation to representation of people of color at executive level positions, it's dropping off significantly. The fact that it's happening and continues to occur is certainly something that we should be mindful of, and that companies that are focusing on their DEI efforts want to explore whether or not that's happening at their organization, and trying to determine if there's a cause and something that can be resolved and corrected. Another piece of information to consider is what data do you have available? What do you have or need that is going to be relevant or essential to a DEI audit? For example, do you want more information than that you currently have on social orientation, gender identity, national origin, those types of demographic information? Most employers are not collecting that level of detail from their employees. So you may want to consider doing a voluntary self-ID survey around those types of demographics. I think it's easy when we're doing an audit that's around legal issues like wage and hour or benefits, because then compliance is your objective and the law is your standard for comparison. But it's different when we're looking at DEI because that's aspirational. So I would recommend, as you begin the process of doing a DEI audit, that the team conducting it get together and map out what your objectives are. What is it that you hope to achieve? And then once you know that, design your roadmap for getting there. Different types of things that you might want to achieve with an audit is obviously that EEO compliance. I think that's an easy part of it and kind of a no-brainer. Let's make sure we're doing everything we're legally required to from an EEO perspective. The pay equity is another important aspect of DEI and measuring pay disparities between different groups and whether or not those are explainable. Certainly looking at demographics of the workers in the organization and whether or not those are in line with what you would reasonably expect them to be based on various factors. Employee engagement in the organization. We talked about those survey results from the Glassdoor and others. What is your employee perception about the company's culture? Accommodation policies are really important here. Do you have policies that cover both religious and disability and requests for accommodations and how those are handled? Your selection process. How are individuals hired? Do we have a consistent selection process? And is it documented? Do we have good records to show why people were hired and why people were not hired? Compensation, your policies around setting and adjusting compensation would be really important for ensuring equity and making sure they're up to date with various jurisdictions that prohibit asking starting salary, for example, or require the inclusion of salary information in job postings. Restroom policies are another example that I suggest be looked at. If you don't have one, it might be a good idea to create one to address transgender individuals in the workplace, and given your specific facilities and the options that are available, how that will be handled. Benefits, again, making sure that those are inclusive. Same for leave policies, and looking at how you can provide leave to individuals and flexible work arrangements. Grooming policies are another one on my list that I always like to look at. There are more and more jurisdictions passing Crown Acts, which prohibit employers from discriminating against individuals on the basis of of having a natural hairstyle. Looking at your recruitment process and ensuring that you have procedures in place to require recruitment towards diverse candidates. Are we doing as much as we can to create, to cast a wide net and create diverse candidate pools? I do think it's important for an organization to look at the racial and gender makeup of your workforce, and maybe even go beyond that and look at age and nationality and that type of information. But take a look at what the composition of the workforce is, and then you can compare that to the availability of different groups. So what is the expected demographics of your workforce, and how do you compare to that? So again, census data is available. The EEOC has aggregate information that you can use based on geographic areas and different types of industries. So that information is available for you to do those types of measurements.